Hello, hello. Jamie Allen Bishop with Soul Heart Entertainment here, coming to you live for ToesDay. It is July 6th. Yeah, it's been that kind of a couple of weeks for me, you guys. All right, so for the month of July, we are talking all about the faith and trust toe, which is typically the left. Oh, hi, Robert. Thank you for joining. Faith and trust is typically on the left foot. It is typically the baby toe, and that's what the whole month of July is about. So if you come up with questions or you wonder what something looks like and therefore what it means, let me know in the comments below and I'll address it either in the comments or in the next video in July, or both probably. So today we're talking about faith and trust, and just so that we get on here with a little bit of the education piece, so that the people who are new to this can know what it takes. All of the files that I show on here are in the photos section of the Soul Heart Entertainment page. So if you are curious about the toe reading map or anything else, you can find all of those images on. Hi Shannon, so glad you're here. You can find all of those images in the files folder for the Soul Heart Entertainment page. Okay, so quick overview. The toe reading is this idea that our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, otherwise known as our belief systems, show up in the physical shape, direction, color, etc. of the toes. So it's this amazing tool that we can use for adjusting or changing anything that doesn't serve us anymore. The idea is founded on a 5,000-year-old tradition of reflexology, and it's integrated with Western medicine philosophies in that all of the organs and tissues are connected through the fascia. If you don't know what that word means, you'll have to Google it, because I'm not going to get into it here. But a quick toe reading map is that our left foot represents our internal self, whereas our right foot represents our external self. That's the yin and yang of life. Each toe represents a different element and concept therein. So the big toe is the ether toe, or the the big picture or destiny in life. The second toe is the air toe, or the communication toe, which also houses our creativity and our analytical behavior. The fire toe is all about how we take action, or how our temperament might affect taking action in our lives. The water toe is the relationship toe. It's the ring finger toe. Hi, Terry. So glad you're here. The water toe is the relationship toe. It's all about how we go with the flow or not, right? We're either going with the flow or we're not going with the flow. The baby toe is the earth toe. That is the only toe that really signifies something kind of dramatically different from foot to foot. On the left foot, it's all about our faith and trust, and that's what we're talking about, or what we're kind of focusing on for the month of July. Obviously, we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, but for the purposes of just having some semblance of organization to the toe reading, because there's so much to cover in these videos on Tuesdays. But the earth toe on the right side has to do with our prosperity and abundance. Okay, so while the left side is faith and trust and the right side is prosperity and abundance, the two obviously are very interconnected with each other. So when we are talking about faith and trust, we're talking about the left toe, and this is kind of not a particularly good image, but I kind of like this foot as a representation of the way that faith and trust can show up for some people. This is somebody who's very independent. You can tell that by the space between their big toe and their second toe. They sometimes miss the mark on communicating, taking action, and they therefore fall short of taking action because they're kind of they kind of have a tendency to be in their head a little bit about communication, about how they should take things forward. Maybe they don't understand exactly what their purpose is in life, or maybe they're too focused on their purpose and they're not taking action that's inspired or God-centric, or whatever you want to call it. I call the power source energy God, just because that feels comfortable to me. But that action toe it's separate from the communication toe. So there's going to be a separation that happens in the communication versus the action, and therefore affecting the big picture, which is also very separate. So this is probably somebody who's really, really organized, which is amazing. Love that about this person. And then their relationship toe comes kind of all of their toes come pretty straight off. The only toe that kind of takes a turn, you can see, is the action toe. But the relationship toe is pretty straightforward. The faith and trust toe is pretty straight off the toe or the foot. But the faith and trust toe and the water toe, the relationship toe, both of those toes are pretty close together, especially when you compare them to the amount of space that comes in the other two toes. So what this person might want to look at in their lives is how they're stopping themselves from receiving more information around their relationships and their faith and trust, because there's a little bit of a closedness to the way that those toes show up, especially when you look at the whole foot as to compare those together. So what I would recommend for this person is to, kind of have a ritual, a daily routine, so to speak, of getting themselves in the frame of mind to be open and willing to receive all that is good. So in Louise Hay's mantra, it is wide open arms, it is standing at attention, it is shoulders back, heart chakra open, and repeating the phrase, I am open and willing to receive all that is good. Now, the first time I did that, holy cow, all of the deep, dark demons that I was, suppressing came so to the surface, because I literally physically closed in my shoulders. I had like a visceral reaction. My stomach got all knotted and nauseous, and it just felt like, oh God, I'm not open and willing to receive all that is good. So that's a great awareness if that happens to you, as you open and extend your arms and say, I am open and willing to receive all that is good. Just notice how you react. Notice how it shows up in your body. Notice where the physical manifestations of whatever is coming up might show up for you. So I have good days and bad days, just like anybody else. And the physical nature of that mantra, if you will, of that way of showing up in the world affects me differently on the different days. So when I'm feeling a little bit more sad, it's a little bit more closed. I'm, maybe not necessarily open and willing to receive all that is good. When I'm feeling really happy or joyful, of course, it's really easy to receive all that is good, right? So just notice where you're at emotionally. Pick up on the triggers that you can use to adjust your mood to how you want to show up in the world, to reach your goals, to achieve more in life than, sitting on the couch watching TV and playing video games. Hey, listen, if that's what you want in life, great, kudos. No judgment at all. I know that I do that many, many, many days, just out of almost self-preservation, right? Just kind of zoning out, tuning out the world, especially when I'm feeling overwhelmed by it. I have a tendency to play my video games a lot more. I have a tendency to kind of just have background noise happening. But when we truly want to make progress in our lives, it really stems from that action of being in silence and allowing the monkey chatter in our brains to settle down, kind of, say, thank you for reminding me, brain, I'd like to take it from here. Thank you for reminding me, I'd like to take it from here. Like, or at least that's what I do. Like, okay, thank you for the reminder, monkey chatter, but I'm not focusing on that right now. Right now, I'm focusing on just my breath, or just being fully present, feeling everything that there is to feel in my body. And I'm mentioning this because when it comes to faith and trust, it is directly linked to prosperity and abundance. And so, I want to achieve amazing things in this lifetime, especially when it comes to financial abundance, because I know that I'm going to use my money to help people in an amazing way that may not already be being done. And so I want to be able to receive the money to be able to help more and more and more people. So, and my thing is all about owning your truth, stepping up to the plate, being who you were meant to be on this earth. And there are so many people that are in denial of how they're supposed to be showing up and supposed to be, that's kind of a weird word. That's kind of an awkward phrase, because you're not supposed to be anything. You're just supposed to be you. You're just supposed to be, right? If we look at the Bible, I am. That's it. That's it. I am. That is the great I am. That is God. It is amazing how, in parallel, the words that come after that phrase, I am, create the life that we live right now. It's absolutely miraculous. So just be aware of what words come after the words I am. So in faith and trust, we are looking at this person has abundance and prosperity, right? But their faith and trust is a little bit closed. So maybe they're going through something right now. Maybe they've always had you can kind of see where their relationship toe on their left side, so their internal self side, stays it's kind of a little bit shorter than the other toes, especially when you compare it to the right foot, where she's showing up as, this person who has abundance and prosperity and a good relationship and everything. But there's definitely some holding back there. So I would want to know, how is she holding back? And is that serving the highest purpose path that she's here to divine? Because I suspect that there's greater, more amazing things that she wants to accomplish. And that's where the struggle is for her, is in that faith and trust and that relationship building piece. And that's a relationship within herself, because if we go back to the toe reading map, we're talking about our left foot, which is the faith and trust toe, and it's our right or our left internal self side, okay? So the same is kind of true. Well, this one is a little bit different. This one has to do with, I think some people tell me to hold these upside down so it almost looks more like the correct foot, because of course the video is backwards and everything. But anyway, so the left foot on this foot, this set of toes, there's, some real sadness going on in that relationship toe. You can kind of see that by the way that the toe kind of hooks toward the ground. But when it comes to the faith and trust, there's a lot of extra padding on that toe. Unlike these toes that are kind of showing up, they're showing up pretty, their padding is pretty normal across the board. Like, there's no one toe that kind of has a substantial amount of padding on it. Whereas the relationship toe here and the faith and trust toe here, both of those are padded up. So when it comes to relationships and faith and trust with extra padding on the toe, what that has a tendency to mean is that these people are protecting themselves. I've kind of imagined a turtle where we have this, this, or Santa with a big bag. Like, there's this almost like we're carrying stuff with us. Now, it would be individual to determine whether that was stuff from the past, whether it was, baggage that she just hasn't forgiven or let go of yet, whether it was self-sabotaging beliefs because it is showing up on her left foot. So it's that internal dialogue that's happening with ourselves. There's so many things. But ultimately, what it means to me is that there's a layer of protection that's happening around the toe that, here's the deal with protection. While it might feel like we're protecting ourselves and being in control by protecting ourselves, what we're doing is we're keeping ourselves in a shell, so we are protecting ourselves, but we're also keeping out the prosperity and abundance and the faith and trust and the reasons to have more faith and trust. Does that make sense? So it kind of goes along the lines of that law of attraction idea, where if what we put out is what we get. So if we're protecting ourselves, then what we're putting out is that we need protection from faith and trust, that we need protection from the relationships in our lives, that, ultimately we're going to get knocked down, we're going to have reasons not to have faith and trust, and we're going to have reasons not to be in a harmonious relationship, okay? And because it's on that left foot, it's all about that internal dialogue. It's all about our internal self. So how we do things to shift that is we, just kind of do a little bit of everything. Do what works for you, really. The way that I work with my individual coaching clients is I use the EFT as emotional freedom technique to help release the belief systems that we have kind of ingrained in our heads around whatever it is that's coming up. So the two major things for this particular set of feet is the relationship is kind of holding on and protecting. And so as she's protecting herself, she's also keeping out the things that can prove to her that that relationship is good, that it's worthwhile, that it has all of the elements of happiness and love and faith and trust that she wants to see in the world. So when we're protecting ourselves, we're really also blocking out all of the opportunities to see what we actually want to see, right? So we would go a little bit deeper with that. We'd see what's going on there, trigger words that happen for her, where she feels it in her body, and then releasing it through the tapping process. And you'll see that when you do that, your toes shift, your toes completely change. It's actually pretty exciting. It's pretty damn miraculous as far as I'm concerned, because when I'm sitting in service as a toe reader, to, have somebody have that like aha moment where they literally just realizing something can totally shift the energy around whatever it is that somebody's going through. Just having that aha moment can really, really shift their entire energy and therefore the matrix of their entire life. It's pretty darn cool, if I do say so myself. So if you guys have any questions, definitely ask them. I wanted to point out a little something about, I didn't print it backwards, so it's not gonna come, you're gonna see it backwards. But this Mercury retrograde 2021 calendar, we are through the first two sets of Mercury retrograde, which are in red on this calendar. So we're at the 6th, so we're on the very last day of the shadow of the Mercury retrograde calendar. And I just want to give a shout out to Deborah Clement, astrologer.com. DebraClementAstrologer.com. She is the one whose calendar I appreciate the most. She creates these calendars every year, and I definitely use them for myself. One of the things to know about Mercury retrograde is, and all of these things are superstitions. All of these things are just beliefs that we have. And so if you don't want to go by the Mercury retrograde calendar, by all means don't. It's kind of a non-issue. But for me, it kind of helps me with the kind of with the worldwide energy of how everything is showing up. So in that red space, it is almost invariably, and again, it could just be because I believe it, so I'm attracting it into my life, right? So take it for what it's worth. But for me, when those red spots happen in the Mercury retrograde calendar, it has a tendency to be a little bit more of a challenging time for me emotionally. Things are a little bit heavier. The energy in the world is a little bit, it just feels like a weighted blanket, which can feel really comforting, but it can also be really stifling. So when we know that this kind of stuff is happening, and if you look at the Mercury retrograde calendar and you find that it's kind of a match for the moments, the 2 or 3 weeks in life, 2 or 3 times a year, that your things aren't going smoothly, like you just feel like a fish swimming upstream, or I don't know, whatever other metaphors to use right now, but it just feels uncomfortable to me. And inevitably, when I look at the Mercury retrograde calendar, it's pretty much in alignment with those red patches. So we're out of that red patch. So just take kind of a big deep sigh of relief if the last 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 weeks have been a challenge for you. It's because of the pre-shadow and post-shadow of the 2.5, 3 weeks of Mercury retrograde, and you can kind of just bless and release that experience. Whatever it was that you were struggling through, just know that you're not alone. It does kind of feel that way for a lot of people who are really, especially if you're energetically sensitive to what's going on around you in the world. So the rest of July should be pretty much a piece of cake. All of August is awesome. We start to get into the pre-shadow of Mercury retrograde in the first few weeks of September. And then starting at the very, very last week of September is when Mercury actually goes retrograde. That red part starts September 27th and it goes through October 18th. Okay. Now, the great news about this is that we come out of that heaviness, or it's almost like a film is before your eyes. So it's hard to see things clearly, or at least for me. It's hard to see things clearly during the Mercury retrograde. So as we come out of it, we can kind of lift those veils. We can kind of do away with things that aren't serving us anymore. It's a great time during Mercury retrograde to kind of delve deep into the emotional piece of how you do want to show up. Kind of, where are you? How is it going? Is everything working well for you? And if it is, great, keep doing that. If it's not, how do we shift it? What do we do in order to come out of my reminder to wrap it up just went off. Okay, so I mentioned the Mercury retrograde because at the end of October, or kind of toward the end of October, we have our retreat in Sedona. It is a personal transformation retreat. I am kind of the MC of the retreat. We have an amazing guest this year. So I'm really hoping that we can drum up some pretty fantastic people. I'll be allowed to announce that guest relatively soon. So look for it in the next couple weeks. And if you're interested in doing a version of either in person or online, joining us for a personal transformation retreat, that's just all about kind of getting to the psychology behind some tools of the trade that might help release things. And then, hi Nicole, so glad you're here. And so with that, we go to this idea that, oh, thank you. She said, I look so pretty. Anyway, so with that retreat, that personal transformation retreat, we're talking about how basically just getting past our own crap, getting getting past the stuff that's in our head where, you know, using tools, different tools. There will be different speakers with different ideas of how to handle personal transformation. And the ultimate goal, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to these personal transformation retreats, is to leave there being able to take into action some of the tools that you've learned in order to create the absolute best lifestyle for you. And when you create your best lifestyle, it's just automatic that everybody around you or who interacts with you, both on the work level and the personal level and the intimate level, everything kind of fits and feels a little bit better, and it lifts everybody up. When we lift our own energy up, we lift everybody's energy up, right? So consider joining us for the October Transformation Retreat. I'll be talking again next Tuesday for ToesDay and Tarot Tuesdays. Say that 3 times fast. Where we'll pull a card. My girlfriend, who is an amazing tarot reader, will pull a card and we'll talk about how that might show up in the toes. It's so fun. If you haven't seen any of those episodes, we have some on the Soul Heart Entertainment page for you to see. If you want to watch some of those, for just hashtag ToesDay and Tarot Tuesdays. All right, you guys. Thank you for being here. Bye for now. I'll see you next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for ToesDay. And hopefully we'll have our tarot reader with us because it's so much fun.